What's up guys, this is Simon, and in this video we're going to discuss if owning a home is worth it today. Now, you know, home ownership, it's that first house you buy to live somewhere and not have to deal with that pesky landlord constantly bothering you about late rent or whether or not you're taking care of their place.
Rent? Not now. Give me rent.
But on this video, I wanted to go ahead and see if it was worth owning a home financially compared to renting in today's market. Keep in mind, home ownership is not just the price you pay for mortgage every month. There are other factors that you also have to consider before buying a home, and then you need to decide if it's worth it for you. So before I get into this video, I always ask you guys or remind you to hit the like button for me and subscribe to my channel. If you don't do that, the interest rates will go up. All right. So let's get into this video. So I owned my first house when I was 25. I thought it was the best deal. The best thing I ever did was to purchase a home. To purchase a home, you guys know you need a lot of money. For a down payment, you got to have your finances in order. You got to be ready to pay that mortgage no matter what. So you need to understand loans, and you can check out some of my other videos on purchasing your first property. The big question comes up is whether or not a home is worth it. While the housing market is hot, if you didn't get into housing post-pandemic in the first few months, the housing market has jumped 25+%. So now you're buying a house that a year ago would have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars less. Now, in addition to that, a lot of people leaving California have moved to other states where the housing prices of those states or those cities and towns have gone up tremendously. So for example, the Texas area, the Florida area, Nashville, etc., all these places have started skyrocketing because Californians are leaving. They're buying up land and property near you where they feel it's a bargain. So if you didn't get in early, now you're paying more. Is it worth it to pay more today? Now, mortgage applications have steadily increased year over year.
After a little pullback the previous week, mortgage demand came roaring back last week. Applications to refinance a home loan jumped 9% for the week and 86% annually, while millions of borrowers have refinanced already over the past year.
In fact, home sales have been so on the rise that it is hard to even get a house. You're getting outbid by multiple offers. You're kind of stuck in this rat race to get a house. Now, the 30-year fixed interest rate is not helping first-time home buyers or even people that are considering to bid on a home because the demand is so high. You're at a 2.7% or so 30-year fixed rate. That is a tremendously good rate. If you could get that interest rate, then making a home purchase may be a good idea for you because your monthly payment is a lot lower. A lot of real estate agents and real estate professionals were asked, is owning a home worth it? 57% of those said that home ownership is worth it in order to grow your portfolio and your net worth, while 38% of those said it really depends on your situation. Now, one situation comes to mind for me is if you purchase a home that is so expensive versus renting it. So for example, if you're buying a $5 million home and you could rent that home, say for $12,000 to $15,000 a month, at that point, it may not be worth purchasing the home. It may be better renting it because you also have to account that a $5 million home is going to have a property tax of an additional $60,000 to $70,000 or so a year, depending on where you live. Owning a home that is very expensive, it's not just the monthly mortgage, it's also a property tax issue that you're going to have to deal with, or a property tax payment that you're always going to have to make. So then you need to equate, is owning a home worth it? So for me, owning a home can generate a passive income. If you have a tenant that you sign up for a 2-year term, every year for 30 years, you're going to have 15 total tenants you need to deal with in that 30-year period. And then you'll have a passive income for your retirement if you continue to own that home. You could also borrow against the home, which is great. Who doesn't want more money to come in from something that just sits there and appreciate? I know I do. In one of my videos, I describe good debt or bad debt, and what you could do with your home is you could take money out on the home and invest it in your second property. Basically, what's happening is your home is building like a balloon. It is raising in value, and depending on where you live or which location, it could raise higher. In the Bay Area, some of my homes have raised in value over $1 million, and I was able to cash out and refinance and then put the excess money that I earned with just the property sitting there into my next property. In this case, owning a home is worth it if you're going to be financially investing in building a real estate portfolio. It's a must. Now, if you're like Elon Musk, someone that just basically said, I don't want to own anything. I want to be debt free. I don't don't want to have any properties under my name. He started selling all of his homes in California and other places. The reason being is he wanted no ownership of any monetary type property. Now, he's a billionaire, so I don't agree with him. He doesn't need those properties. He could buy a property at any point. But for an average Joe like you and me and millennials, people that are trying to up their game in the real estate world, I strongly encourage that you consider home ownership as something that you're going to build wealth as a foundation. With home ownership, you also need to consider maintenance. So if you own a home versus renting a home, the person that owns a home has to maintain their property. That means fixing the roof, the gardening. You got to maintain leaks, floods, piping, electrical, etc. That's all on you. So each home has an additional cost associated with it. It's not strictly just pay the mortgage and you're getting by for 30 years. So you really got to understand that when you buy a home, there's going to be maintenance involved as well. It's almost like owning a car and getting a speeding ticket. When you get a license, you need to also understand that one day you're going to get pulled over and you got to pay additional money to have your vehicle. Just like insurance, just like property tax, and then the speeding tickets are things that go wrong, such as roof leaks, pipe bursts, and things of that nature. When you're renting and not owning that home, it's the landlord's responsibility to maintain the property entirely. So you will save on that expense as well. So you need to decide, do you want a headache and maintain a property, or do you want to go ahead and just rent and have the landlord cover everything in terms of financial expenses that may arise from home ownership? On top of that, when you're buying a home, you also need to understand closing costs. When you buy $1 million home, you're not technically buying that home for $1 million. There are closing costs associated with the sale of that home. Not only are there closing costs for the seller, but there are closing costs for the buyer. So you're paying certain fees, taxes. You're also paying your escrow costs, and those add up into the thousands. So $1 million home technically could close at around 1.1 million. Wow. Now here is the final thought on home ownership and why you should own a home versus rent, from my opinion, of course. Homeowners are 40 times more wealthy or have a higher net worth than renters. And that is an incredible number and one huge reason you should consider being a homeowner versus a renter. As of 2019, homeowners have a median net worth of $250,000 or so, while renters only have a median net worth of about $6,500. That is a whopping gap difference, guys. And that's another reason you have to be a homeowner. On top of being a homeowner, it's not just the value of the home that you own. It's the financial mindset that you have to have. When you aspire to own a home, you're actually working very hard. You're saving money. You're understanding the value of money and the amount of money it takes to buy that home. Versus renters, they're thinking small. They only need a security deposit, which is technically 1 month in rent. They only need to worry about the next several months of payments. Homeowners are more likely to build wealth because they're planning for long term. They're not only building their deposit that is necessary, but they're also thinking how they are going to pay for their mortgage years down the line. So homeowners have better financial planning skills, a better net worth, and they're thinking for the future. And that's why you need to be a homeowner. Now, the downside of home ownership is if you're not ready for all of the expenses and the costs involved, it could be a huge mistake for you to purchase a home. So if you could barely afford all of the additional expenses, you could actually default. And I've had friends and family that have defaulted on their homes where they were not able to pay for their homes. In fact, the big defaulter was always the interest rate. A lot of people that bought in their home at an adjustable interest rate really got screwed when that rate switched and their home was not valued for what they were paying anymore. So as long as you get a good interest rate, you fix that rate for 15 to 30 years, you're going to be able to really manage your money and you're going to be able to make money on your home appreciating. But there are times where you have to be careful. If you cannot afford a home, the worst thing you could do is default on your mortgage, get bad credit, and lose your house, which means you lose the down payment or the deposit. You're basically out of a house anyway. That is the worst case scenario. So if you're not ready for home ownership, I don't recommend that you consider home ownership and you build up that deposit, get a steady job, and then jump into it. So overall, my final thoughts: home ownership is worth it in specific situations unless you are purchasing or renting very expensive homes where maintenance and ownership does not make sense. So definitely I agree that home ownership is a great way to build wealth. In my Millennials Going Broke video, I mentioned that millennials are not investing in homes and they should reconsider. Check out that video as well. But home ownership definitely is something that you have to build wealth long term. Anyway, I hope I made it a little bit clearer for you guys. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy this video on whether owning a home is worth it, please go ahead and hit the like button for me and subscribe to my channel. As always, I appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys here in the next video.